Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade with the Survival Show today, taking a look at the next Valheim. I know that often gets overused and sometimes these games really are nothing like. But what we're looking for is a big hit, effectively, something that you can play with friends, adventure and maybe some light or full-blown survival mechanics. RUNESCAPE Dragonwilds got revealed only a couple of days ago, and I've got all the info with some dev interviews as well as news about whether PvP is going to be added. Are they going to be bringing it to other platforms potentially? How much RUNESCAPE is going to be in this brand new third-person open world survival RPG game? And pretty much when to expect the release, so let's go. So there was a literal 30-second gameplay tease showing this brand new game that got revealed a couple days ago, and it looks fantastic. Some people might want to compare it to Enshrouded. I'm going to say still Valheim, because that for me is the GOAT of all these types of games. Slightly cozy sometimes, lots of focus on base building and adventuring. But of course RUNESCAPE's been around a hell of a long time. I've never played actual RUNESCAPE, I barely have looked at any gameplay over the years. It's an old MMO from over 25 years ago nearly. Still going strong today and have had different versions that some people prefer or not, and effectively it was a big MMO where you'd adventure around. Communicating was a big factor in the game, but also with some survival elements if you played their Iron Man mode. But it is 2025, so what does this new take on survival offer, utilising the lore and the world of RUNESCAPE? Well, it's going to have adventure, it's going to have co-op, 1 to 4 players at the moment. There will be NPCs and potentially quest givers as you battle on Ashenfall, a lost, forgotten continent, to basically take on the dragons. Yes, Skyrim anyone? Utilising a whole bunch of skill spells and more to not just have fun in combat, but do some of the more boring stuff a little bit more interesting, like chopping trees with your ethereal magical axe, or blowing up a ore node into oblivion so you can gather some of its nuggets. The world looks vibrant. They did release a trailer also showing some of it, but we'll talk about that in a second. You can see here we've got some base building. I call this modular base building because it's not completely freeform like you sometimes have in games like Valheim or lately Enshrouded, but definitely still looks interesting enough. So let's dive into the actual Steam page and see what it has to offer, and then we'll go over some of the dev interviews and talk about some of the other stuff like PvP and potentially if it could come to other platforms. So they reckon they're going to be in early access till early 2026. They've had alpha tests going since late last year. They've got big plans to add a lot more regions, obviously like biomes, more skills, and basically a lot more of everything that you would expect in a game like this, with new seasonal events, resources to craft with, and vaults to uncover. So it will have skills to level up just like in RUNESCAPE. It is going to have quests. They are going to increase the price out of early access once it leaves. And it is a one-time purchase. RUNESCAPE is a subscription-based game, I do believe still. This one is you pay the game and then maybe they'll produce DLCs in the future. The early access launch is going to have a first few regions. It will have all the survival systems, some of the skills, magic survival spells, gear to craft, a robust building system, challenging combat, dungeons to delve, and the first dragon, the terrifying general Valgar. And this seems to be a massive focus, like maybe in each region there'll be a presiding dragon boss that we'll have to take on, ultimately facing off against the Dragon Queen as the final boss. We'll be crafting lots of gear, leveling ourselves up to do battle with these creatures and more, and yeah, travelling across this forgotten landscape. And for sure, it does look really interesting. I'm pretty much of the same mind that eventually chopping a tree gets a bit boring, so how about spicing things up with an axe that you could fling? These kinds of spells I think are really going to maybe elevate this game to something a bit more. We've got a jumping whirlwind, a little move here to get across certain places and chasms. It's of course going to feature light RPG mechanics, a lot of the RUNESCAPE lore. You will run into characters that you've come to know from playing the previous game. It's going to be a handcrafted map, not procedurally generated. And moving on to some of the dev interviews, we can learn that they're planning roughly updates, big major ones at least, every quarter, and these will focus on trying to deliver content for every kind of player, whether or not you're a builder, someone only interested in combat, and that's effectively the cadence. In a dev interview by themselves, interviewing one of the lead designers, they basically said that they're going to have more reveals on the 14th of April. There's going to be a live stream, and the game is going to be releasing literally extremely soon. They've said spring on the Steam page and in more interviews. It wouldn't surprise me if they did the deep dive stream and then maybe said the game is actually out that day, or potentially by May. I reckon that'll be obviously the latest, because that's when spring pretty much ends. I am pretty excited about this. The game looks exactly like my kind of jam, maybe here or maybe on my second channel where I cover games like Grounded, Smalland and stuff like that. I think that game might actually suit a bit on that channel, but yeah, either way I'm going to be covering it. They do go on to speak about how long they've been working on this and the fact that they're obviously trying to take as much from RuneScape as they can in terms of helping build that world, but really offer something a bit fresh and a bit new. They also did a 10-minute interview with PC Gamer, the community director, Jake. I'll leave the link to the full interview if you want to go and watch it down below. This was recorded at GDC a couple of weeks ago. I've definitely got a bit more info about some of the plans, like I said, the quarterly updates, how they've absolutely taken inspiration from games like Valheim, but do want to add a bit more flair and stuff to something, or make things a little bit more interesting in different ways, like being able to harvest and gather resources with magic. They spoke about their alpha tests and the fact that they implemented a very temporary off-the-cuff PvP system, and the players responded and said it was pretty fun. Now, before you cozy players all start clutching at your pearls, don't panic, it's not about to become Rust. It seems like it's more going to be about friendly fire being able to be toggled on and off. Pretty much the same you have in Valheim, and I'm pretty sure Enshrouded has it now too. So if you want to have a bit of a mess around with your friends, build an arena and then go ham at each other, you'll be able to. But they do mention that it might be something they investigate in the future, maybe dedicated servers for that kind of thing. Which is interesting with only a 4-player limit, so maybe that is something that could be revised in the future. But for now at least, and on the Steam page it says 1 to 4. They do also speak in the interview about trying to make the game accessible to as many players as possible. And I'm definitely taking that to mean that they would aim to maybe get it on consoles in the future. RuneScape, the original version, was a Java-based browser game, and obviously it never made it to any kind of console platform. So while there's no absolute official word saying it's going to be coming to Xbox or PlayStation, I definitely feel like this kind of wording is indicating, if it does well enough of course, and towards maybe their 1.0 release, we may see some news about console versions. They had nearly a 2-minute trailer showing some of these biomes, and they do look absolutely fantastic, really rich in atmosphere, foggy, misty woods, dank green swamp style places, and gorgeous colour and lighting made in Unreal Engine. Steam page does list the minimum and recommended PC specs if people are interested. What we don't know is the price. We don't know how much Steam compatibility it's going to have with the Steam Deck. Is it going to have cloud saves? How does progression work if you join your friends? It does seem like it's going to be a peer-to-peer based game where you'll just join your friend's world and then go back to yours. Can we transfer characters? This is the stuff we'll hopefully find out on the 14th of April when they do this live stream, and I'll be there to cover it. I might even watch it alongside and talk and showcase it too. So yep, out of nowhere, pretty excited about this. Let me know what you think about RuneScape Dragonwilds. Is this scratching your Valheim Enshrouded itch? And do you think it's going to be successful? Until next time, Ratbags, laters.